Next up, Chapter 7, Number 4, Elite Garrison. Get ourselves some Jabberjaw tokens. This one here we have no elemental disadvantages for the most part. We're going to do fine with those golden enemies. Should actually make quick work of the boss fight too compared to the other ones. So this one should be a nice easy auto run as well. We'll see how many rooms there are first before we commit to the auto run. There are currently 4, so I'm feeling pretty good about this because they're mostly tanks and they're at the same basic level. Unless they hit harder, I guess they do kind of put a couple of pot shots on my heroes, but yep, I think we're gonna have to taunt with Stone Fist. But it was a nice little benchmark to see what we were up against, so never a bad idea to see how strong people are. But if you're getting to the point where you're under leveled into this, obviously you'd want to be a little bit more cautious about that. Generally when running campaign dungeons, I tend to be a little bit stingy with my energy anyways. I don't like to use my skills. I know when you first pick up the game, you're kind of under the assumption that you should be using your skills all the time, like if you're playing some other role-playing game and you always want to use your abilities. Well, that's not necessarily the case here. Especially when you only have one main skill to start with. You want to conserve that, especially in a short dungeon like this, because it may be on cooldown when the boss fight comes up. Trying to get a couple of more turns out of this one without having to taunt. That way I can have the taunt go into the final room. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that here with 4 of those guys. Yeah, I'm going to have to taunt on this one just to keep myself alive. And honestly, this one might go enough turns where the taunt will come back up anyways. Also, since some of the previous ones, I think back in Chapter 6, I have since ascended Yasmin, so I'm getting a little bit of that healing every turn now too. I didn't have that in dungeons previously, so I'm actually a little bit better off in the long run because the lowest person's going to get a little extra healing. This room might actually take long enough where I have to taunt again, and even that one might still come back around, so definitely slow going here. Would have been nice to have some nature heroes to take these guys down, but I don't really have much in the way of nature heroes yet. I would love to build my goblin team early. Just because I know how effective they're going to be in the long run. I'm going to roll the dice and heal here just to make sure that I get through the end. I think honestly it's going to work out well because Darius is going to rain hell down on those bosses because they're both yellow. At least I think they're both yellow. Curious how long this lasts. I'm going to try this once and see if this lasts more than one turn. Because if Darius can use that going into the next dungeon, that's going to absolutely destroy them. I feel like it's only a 1-turn thing though. It's been so long since I've run Ella in dungeons. I guess he does have a couple of blue cronies, but that's not that big of a deal. We'll go ahead and we'll daze him. He's not really going to stand much of a chance. Hopefully Darius can whip out some extra damage. I know it's just a increasing crit, so it's still bound by her normal skills. Whereas like somebody like Croaking Bramble, his dance party actually increases the damage output as well, which is part of what makes that so amazing. Let's see if that kills him, which it didn't. And one of those other guys is going to taunt now. That kind of sucks. I was hoping to be able to take him out. All I can hope for now is that he attacks Stone Fist and get a nice little revenge hit. Or I kill him. I guess that'll work too. There we go. Easy peasy. Let's just auto run this till the end. And there we go. Easy 3-star. Chapter 8 might be a little bit tougher. I might actually go back and level up a little bit before actually going to Chapter 8. Remember, I just want to make sure that I keep at about the same level. Remember, I'm trying to not be over-leveled. That's kind of counter-productive in terms of what I'm trying to demonstrate here. All right, one more to go. here's the last dungeon of Chapter 7. Chapter 7, Dungeon number 5, which is the Vanguard. We're dealing with more yellow and blue enemies again. Yellow caster, they don't stand a chance. And then an Emily clone, which I don't see her as being an issue other than being armored. I know it doesn't say armored anymore, but that trait was just removed. I kind of wish they would have left that on there, but I think ultimately what it was is they're running out of space up here for the various traits and stuff. Either that or they just wanted people to not know that they were armored. I kind of think that's stupid in my opinion, but if they're trying to save little bits and strings of data here and there, I certainly don't blame them. Recommended level 21, so I fit the bill there. Not really much of a problem. For those of you that have stuck out this particular video series and this particular chapter, if you're wondering about the particular quality of the audio recording, as well as some of the background music, I do apologize for that. I've been working on some different video editors and some different recording software. And the one that I'm using currently had a little bit of background music in it that was apparently a pain for me to get out, and I had to better understand the software before I could actually get that out. So I think this last dungeon here would be actually a little bit nicer quality audio, so hopefully it sounds a little bit better than maybe the first ones did. Aside from that, we'll see how this ultimately turns out when I post it. If the video quality and the audio quality sounds good, I might stick with this recording mechanism, but we'll see how that actually goes. I threw the taunt up on Stonefist right from the start just because I want to be able to just auto-run this for a couple of turns. I don't anticipate them being able to kill Stonefist, but a couple of misplaced hits on Darius and I could bring her down. Fairly long dungeons, so I'm going to be able to taunt a couple of times. And actually what I'll do also is I'll actually use some of my other skills, because the last thing I need to do is get through this entire dungeon without a 3-star. So I'm going to be a little bit more cautious there. And they actually survive it pretty good, which is kind of surprising. I thought Darius would have killed them, but they're pretty tough. I guess that's why they're tanks. They take less damage from physical attacks, even if I did have the man-eater trait. That's what I like to see, the little one-shot on the casters. Taunt will probably come down one more time again. There it goes. I don't know if this will count as the one extra turn. I think it's not going to be up. We'll see here. Oh, there it is. Sometimes depending on when the taunt goes down, you kind of get credit for 2 turns. The transition from room to room always counts as a turn, but there's always a 1-turn lag between when it expires and when you can use it again. It's never available on the next turn, but I thought it was also 2 turns. I haven't really looked at the exact cooldown as well as how long it goes, but it's going to be the same thing where it's going to go down again. There it goes, and should be able to pull it up right on the next dungeon. So depending on what we got here, I'm actually going to let this one go a couple of turns first so that I can enter into the final room with the taunt on. So really it's just a matter of how good is my timing in terms of if I'm going to kill these guys. If somebody gets a well-placed crit, that could kind of make things a little bit unfortunate. So I think everybody can do one more attack. There's that, and Darius might actually kill him. Shoot, I didn't want to do that. I was hoping I had one more attack in there, but realistically I should have did my blood ritual. That might have been a smarter move. Alright, let's blood ritual on Darius. And I know that she's not going to do bonus damage to the Archangel because She's not a man. Didn't actually look like it did hardly any damage to anybody. Oh well. Now, normally if you're having difficulty with dungeons, I would suggest using friend heroes. That's kind of been my MO for my boss mode series. However, we shouldn't need to use friend heroes in basic normal campaigns, especially if you're at level, until you get to the main 4 bosses like Sulfurious. He's one of the tougher ones. King Kong, we got through that one pretty easily. But Sulfurious can sometimes be a little bit more difficult. Or the final boss. I think the final boss might actually be an epic dungeon where you can't use a friend. But most of these dungeons, you shouldn't need a friend hero to get through. And if you do, really just do the dungeon, finish it non-3-star if you can, and then ultimately come back later on after you've leveled up. But the only thing that's going to cause problems here is when Stonefist's taunt goes down. Because when that goes down, it's open season on Ella and Darius. And obviously, Miss Archangel here is actually pretty potent. So what I'd like to honestly be able to do is get through this dungeon without potions as well. I don't know if that's going to be possible because I don't know what she has left in the chamber as far as skills go. If she has some sort of a brutal beast mode, kill everything purple strike, it could be curtains for one of my people. Alright, so we just got to survive one more turn. I'm going to throw my heal on there just to top off, so if she does just keep doing basic attacks, I should be able to survive it. She keeps healing herself. This is going to be a long fight, actually. So maybe in the interest of saving time, I will use a friend here. We'll see if I can get to the point where it looks like I'm going to win this one guaranteed. I don't want to give a false impression that I can't beat it at level, so we'll take her down a couple of more pegs before we ultimately commit to the friend hero. That's one of the skills I was waiting to see, because if she would have used that on anybody else, it probably would have been a one-shot kill. So I don't know what the cooldown is on that, but it's definitely something to watch for. And honestly, it looks like I'm taking out more of her health now. If she heals, yeah, she had Bulwark, that's why she was taking so little damage. But I'm going to stun her next. Or not stun her, but daze her. I probably could have saved that for one more turn for after my taunt goes down. But actually, I almost got her killed. So, no friend heroes, no potions, and down she goes. At least I think. This is the moment of truth. What is she going to do here? She was dazed, so that's still good. I was worried that was going to be an issue. But, looks like another 3-star. Alright, chapter 7 down. That should give me a couple of little quest points here. I think that actually might open up Nimriel for me as well. It's possible. With Nimriel unlocked, that's actually going to evolve my next segment of PvP as well. So let's just do a quick check here just to see where we're at as far as the end of chapter 7 and scout out chapter 8 quick. I'm curious what the starting level is. 21, so it's pretty easy merge. I still have elemental advantage going against fire heroes, so not an issue there. Double check my quest log here. 8 more Nimriel tokens. We'll claim those. I'll take some Bovis tokens too. Alright, let's see if I have Nimriel now. Still no. Oh, it looks like after chapter 8 I'll get Nimriel. So right around the level 25 when I want to work in my next segment of PvP, Nimriel will be in there for my PvP defense. So that'll be the first major turning point unless I happen to get 2,700 gems before then. So All right, that's going to wrap up this chapter here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to let me know in the comments. Otherwise, stick around for another episode. Thanks.